Hello everyone, the topic that we are going to discuss today is human resource planning process. I have already made a video on the concept and components of human resource planning. I'll link it in the description box below. You can go see that video first to understand better what is the concept of human resource planning and what are various components of HRP. So before starting with human resource planning, let me give you a brief about what human resource planning is. Human resource planning is deciding in advance what number and kind of human resources will be required by the organization to fulfill its desired goals or to move from its current position to its desired position. That is human resource planning. Now, human resource planning process. Human resource planning process is what steps are we going to take to inculcate human resource planning in our organization. Okay, so let's start with the first step. The first step is environmental scanning. Environmental scanning means now the human resource managers have to scan the internal as well as the external environment. So there are two types of environment that will be scanned by the HR managers. The external environment includes political environment, social environment, technological environment, competitive environment. All of these environments will be scanned by the HR managers to see what kind of opportunities are available and what kind of threats the organization can face in future. So according to that, we have to incorporate various kinds and number of human resources in our organization. For example, suppose there is a threat that the organization is going to face in future. So, do we have appropriate resources? That means, do we have appropriate number and kind of human resources who can overcome this threat, so that our organization doesn't face a lot of harm because of that threat that is coming our way. Again, for opportunity, for example, there is an opportunity that is coming our way. Do we have our human resources? Do we have the appropriate kind and number of human resources to grab that opportunity and make the most use out of that opportunity? So that is the external environmental scanning. That is why we have to do external environmental scanning in the as a first step of human resource planning process. Now, internal environment scanning is what are the strengths, weaknesses, number of employees, skills, capabilities available with your organization currently. What is the current situation of your organization in terms of human resource, whether they are well equipped, they are well skilled, well educated, well qualified to meet the desired goals of the organization or not. If yes, then no more planning is required, no more action is required. If not, then the human resource planning will start. Okay, so the next one is studying organizations, objectives and policies. So objectives and policies here plays an important role. Why? I'll tell you. I have also made a video on strategic human resource management, which also I will link in the description box. Strategic human resource management says that all the HR activities should be in accordance with the goals and objectives of the organization. So HRP is a part of strategic human resource management. So therefore, whatever human resource planning we are doing in our organization, whatever activities we are carrying out in our organization, as per the human resource management, as per the human resource planning, we are doing it for one and only reason. We are doing it to achieve the objectives of the organization. We are doing it to move our organization to a desired position from the current position. That's why the objectives of the organization, the policies and the objectives of the organization should be clear in our head, should be made clear to the HR managers that these are the objectives, and accordingly human resource planning should be done. the human resources that will be there in the organization should be well equipped with all the knowledge, all the skills, and the exact number of employees should be there in the organization who can help organization achieve their goals. Next is forecasting the demand for human resources. Forecasting the demand for human resources. That means we have set a desired objective. Okay, we now have a desired objective. The objective, the position that the organization wants to move towards. We have a desired future objective set for us. Now we are forecasting the demand of human resource. That means after we have done the environmental scanning, we have come to know that okay, the human resource that is present in the organization right now is not well equipped to reach to the desired objective, to reach to the desired position that the organization want to reach. So we will do a human resource forecasting, demand forecasting. What kind and what number of human resources are required by the organization? We have to forecast. In future, what number and what kind of people will be required by the organization to reach to a future goal. Okay, what number and what kind will be required by the organization? We have to forecast that in advance. So, through various methods, the demand of the organization can be forecasted to gather information about how many people are and will be required by the organization according to the current and future objectives of the organization. So, to reach to a future desired position, to reach to a future objective, to successfully achieve the future objective, how many people will be required? We have to forecast the demand. Okay, so next step is human resource supply forecast. Now that we have forecasted the demand, now that we know that these many people can be required in future to reach to a desired position, to reach to a objective of the organization which lies in future. So now we know that what demand we have, how many number and kind of people will be required by the organization to reach to a desired position. Now we will forecast the supply. The supply will be forecasted now. Supply, that means from where are we going to source these human resources? From where are we going to get these human resources? You have to plan the supply of human resources also in advance, because when the need arises in future, then you should be knowing from where can we get the best candidate for that vacant position. So the supply forecast also has to be done. The source has to be decided from where you can get the desired person who can help you achieve the organizational goals. Now the supply forecast includes external supply and internal supply. External supply is when you fill the vacant position through external sources, through people from outside the organization, and internal supply is when you fill the vacant position through people from within the organization. Okay, then is determining the manpower gaps. Manpower gap here means that now you have to determine what number and kind of people you will be requiring to achieve the organizational objective, and what number and kind of people do you have right now, the current position of the human resource of your organization, that has to be determined. Okay, so what kind and number of people will be required by your organization to fulfill the future objective of your organization, the future position of your organization, the desired position of your organization, the future goal of your organization, and what number and kind of people do you have right now. So this gap has to be bridged. The number and kind of people required by the organization to fulfill the desired goals, and the number and kind of people that you have in the organization right now. Okay, so that is determining the manpower gaps. Determining qualitative and quantitative gap. So qualitative gap is the kind of people, skills, education of people, okay, training, experience of people, and quantitative gap is the number of people required, okay. So that is determining the gap. So the next step is formulating HR plans. Now formulating HR plans here means that now when you have determined, when you have identified the gap between the desired number and kind of people and the current number and kind of people that you have in your organization, you have to bridge that gap. How you are going to bridge that gap is through planning for human resources. So the first one is recruitment plan. Recruitment plan is what? Recruitment plan is the number and type of people that you will require, what kind of people you will require, when you will require them, and where you will require them. Then is redundancy plan. Redundancy plan is, suppose the people of your organization have become redundant. Redundant means they are of no use for you as an organization. They are putting zero efforts, they are having zero output in achieving organizational goals. So how are you going to deal with them? Are you going to give them training, or are you going to practice retrenchment? That means are you going to fire them? Are you going to lay them off? That is redundancy plan. Next is redeployment plan. Redeployment plan is suppose you are having surplus employees in one branch and there is scarcity of employees in another branch, then you can redeploy these employees. That means from surplus branch to a branch that is having scarcity of employees, you can redeploy them, okay. Next is training plan. What kind of training the employees require for achieving the desired position of the organization, what number of trainings are required, what kind of trainings are required, that will be assessed. Next is productivity plan. Productivity plan is how to increase the productivity of people at the job, how to increase their efficiency, how to make them more efficient, how to make them work more at a less cost, okay. That is productivity plan. How you can do it? You can do it by job redesign, incentives, and job simplification. Job redesign is that you can if they are facing some problem in doing their jobs, you can redesign the job. That means you can simplify the job, you can add some tasks, you can subtract some responsibilities from their job. So by redesigning the job, you can make them more productive. By giving them incentive, you can make them more productive, or by simplifying their job, you can make them more productive. Then is retention plan. Retention plan is to retain people in your organization. So when people leave your organization, often it is a huge cost to the organization. So retention plan also has to be made. So better compensation management can be done for retaining people in the organization, for not letting them go. Okay, changes in work environment can be done, improving working conditions to retain them in the organization. Next is control plan. So control plan is monitor changes in manpower supply and maintain balance between the demand and actual manpower requirements. That is control plan. So that control plan is, that means you are maintaining a balance between the required manpower and the manpower that is currently there with you in the organization. Why control plan is necessary is surplus and scarcity of manpower both results into a huge cost to the organization. That's why control plan is necessary for human resource planning. So these are all the steps to be followed to inculcate human resource planning in the organization. Let's quickly revise them. So the first one is environmental scanning. So we will scan the environment, internal and external, to see what are the threats, what are the opportunities, and whether the current employees are equipped enough to deal with these threats and opportunities. Second, studying organizational objectives. So studying organizational objectives is that you are making clear what are the objectives, what is the desired position of the organization, and keeping that in mind, you are planning the human resource that will be required to fulfill these objectives. Next is forecasting the demand of human resource. Now that you know the objectives of the organization, what kind and what number of people will be required in future to achieve these objectives, to achieve the desired position, is important, and that's why you will forecast the demand of employees that can occur in your organization in future. Okay, then next is human resource supply forecast. Supply forecast is the demand that will occur in future, that can occur in future, from where are we going to source the employees to fill these vacancies. Next is determining manpower gaps. Manpower gaps is the quality and quantity of employees that are required by the organization to fulfill the desired goals of the organization, and the current manpower, qualitative and quantitative manpower that we are having in the organization. We have to determine the gap between the two, and this gap will be bridged by the HR plans. So the next step is formulating HR plans. Under HR plans will be recruitment plan, redundancy plan, redeployment plan, then training plan, productivity plan, retention plan, and control plan. So this is the process of human resource planning.